Hi, before we start this episode, I just wanted to say that this weekend marks the official opening of The Running Show, a spectacular event taking place at the iconic NEC Birmingham in the UK. Now, Raccoon Media organise the event and they also produce a podcast called Outside and Active. It just so happens that I have the host of the podcast, Dominic Brown, on this week's episode. As I do quite often with my interviews, I have split this into three parts. Now, let me tell you, chatting with Dominic was a blast. In today's segment, we kick things off by delving into his school days and exploring his early experiences with sports. It's a journey you won't want to miss. I had such a great time during this interview, and I'm crossing my fingers that you are going to enjoy it as much as I did. And hey, the excitement doesn't stop there. Part 2 and 3 of this adventure is dropping next week and the following week, so make sure you're locked in and subscribe. So without further ado, let's dive into my conversation with Dominic. So you're thinking about running, but not sure how to take the first step. My name is Brian Patterson, and I'm here to help. Welcome to Brian's Run Pod. Well, welcome back to another episode of Brian's Run Pod, and I'm your host, Brian Patterson, and today we've got a fantastic guest on the show. Well, today I've taken a different track and I'm interviewing a fellow podcaster. Please give a warm welcome to Dominic Brown, a host of Outside and Active podcast and digital communications manager at Outside and Active. Now, Dom wears many hats, managing content and marketing for the site and even documenting his outdoor escapades and musings. I've checked out his website and let me tell you, it's a treasure trove of outdoor goodness. He says, and I quote, "I've been playing all varieties of sports since the age of 5, but in the past years, I've somehow become a runner. And this has opened my eyes to a whole new world of adventure. I still love playing team sports and heading to the gym." Now, he has interviewed some amazing people, Olympians such as Colin Jackson, Sir Chris Hoy, Paula, Radcliffe, and our very own Caitlin Limmer, who I've interviewed on Brian's Run Pod. He also shares something in common with my daughter, who went to the same university, Royal Holloway. So a shout out to Royal Holloway, and a shout out for my daughter, who always tells me off for not mentioning her name, Anna. Anyway, as I said, welcome to the podcast, Dominic.
Introduction. It's nice to be present and listening to an introduction live. It's good.
Oh, brilliant. Like I do with many of my guests, I just wanted to sort of go right to the beginning and find out whether, sport was very much part of your growing up at school, either primary school or, at senior school.
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned it there in the introduction. Of sport very much has been a part of my life since pretty much the age of 5, since as long as I can remember. My parents are both very sporty. My dad's played every sport that you can imagine, similar with my mum. And so sport was kind of in my genes, if that's such a thing. So it started with school, where I grew up in Surrey. A load of the mums and dads and kids kind of became friends in the first year of reception. And then when we got to about the age of 5, it then became, they're very keen to be outdoors and be sporty, so let's get them into the local rugby, cricket and football clubs. So I joined them with a lot of my friends from school, and I think it kind of started from there. I just loved being outdoors. I loved playing sport. I loved being social around people, and it's pretty much stuck for the last 21, 22 years of wanting to get stuck into any sport that is there, usually team sport. But I'm sure we'll come on to that compared to running in a little bit. But it's just always been a passion of mine. And now I've been very fortunate to make it my career.
Have there been, like me, I mean, there's kind of maybe a couple of standout moments at school. Is there any for you, at school, like, I don't know.
Yeah. I was very privileged to go to a school that in Surrey that had quite a lot. Sport was a big focus of the school, and in the first couple of years, I was a big fish in a small pond in terms of sporting, especially with cricket. Clearly, there was a couple of us that were very good at cricket, and then we kind of carried the team. And then all of a sudden, there was a big influx of players in and students in what would have been year 9, where all of these district and county cricketers came in and very quickly became a small fish in a big pond, which was different but great. And I had the opportunity to play with some players that are now professional cricketers. Phil Salt, who's playing for England, Dan Douthwaite, who plays for Glamorgan, and a couple of teams in Wales, and had the opportunity to play against some very high-level cricketers at that school, a cricketing school, against other schools nearby. And probably didn't recognise it at that point, but looking back now, the opportunity to play cricket alongside some of the best cricketers in the country that they now are was amazing. And looking at them on TV whilst I'm sat there with a soft drink on a Sunday afternoon, watching them play all around the world is good fun. But no, I think I was very fortunate to have the exposure to some great opportunities. Like I said, I think I said rugby, cricket and football were the main things that I played, but I think I said before, wanted to try anything from badminton and swimming and squash and anything. Petanque was one that just came out of nowhere, like French bowls. But yeah, anything that was to try, I usually went towards it with an open mind.
So do you think that theme of sport, like you said, coming from the age of 5 and then going into your senior school, was there a point where you thought, this is what I'd like to do, or be involved in some as a career, or were you open-minded to other jobs, or careers?
Yeah, I think probably at an early age, I would have thought, as most people I think would, if I'm going to work in sport, I have to be a professional athlete. I got to a point where obviously I realised that was not going to be something. And it was probably towards the ages of 14, 15, 16, where I kind of got gripped by filmmaking and media and editing and things like that. I used to, again, very fortunate, went on a cricket tour with school to Barbados and thought, I'll take my GoPro and I'll film the 2 weeks and make a video that everyone can kind of remember for as long as they want to remember it, which we still look back on with fond memories every now and then. And I did that with a couple of other holidays and trips, and just began to make content from editing and behind the camera. And that became something that I then wanted to study. So A levels, it was definitely something that I was interested in and studied, and then went to university, as you mentioned at the beginning, Royal Holloway, and did like a film, television, digital production course. And it only then became after that where sport continued to be a kind of consistent backdrop in my life. And then when, as most students do, when they come to the end or middle of university and going, okay, what am I going to do now?
Yeah.
I've studied this thing, but
realization.
I need to go and actually work now. And presented the opportunity to actually combine, well, now I'm very much doing that, but combining the two, media, marketing, social media, and a love of sport became a love of health and fitness, because I think there's a kind of a little bit of a difference, not difference between the two, there's a parallel, but I think, I love sport is quite different to being passionate about health and fitness, which encompasses maybe a little bit more about that I'm sure we'll speak about in a bit. But I've been very fortunate over the last 2.5 years that I've been here of being able to combine my two loves of social media marketing and content, and also health and fitness.
Do you think, I don't know how you can put it, do you think it's easier now? I know this is a bit of often a tangent for people now to, create their own content into whatever discipline, whatever it is, than it was then maybe say, I don't know, maybe when you were at school, earlier on. I mean, I know compared to when I was at school, which is 1,000 years ago, but I mean, then when it's every year it is getting easier. There's sort of more channels. Then again, there are a lot of challenges as well.
Yeah.
We talk about social media and whatever, but do you think it's becoming
the whole
easier?
thing, isn't it? It's the pros and cons. I mean, there used to be sort of three main channels of media with magazines and then television and radio. And then I think YouTube very much changed that.
Yeah.
YouTube 2000, I think it was 2005 where that started. And then all of a sudden, it took 4 or 5 years for that to really kind of become a widespread media platform. And then it was, people can upload content their own for free and start to challenge traditional media. And then you've just seen in the last kind of 4 or 5 years, where obviously then Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, X, whatever that is now, whatever the people call that, has taken over, and people again have more access to say with how they feel and interact with people. And that has become almost accelerated even more in the last 5 years, thanks to TikTok and then obviously Reels and Short.
Of course, yeah.
Because you can create content, and actually you don't need 1 million followers to be able to create a viral clip. You can make your first video and it can go viral, and all of a sudden it's there.
Yeah.
That's the benefits. It connects more people. It allows people to be creative. It allows companies to be more creative and human. The flip side of that is that the average engagement time is about 5 seconds, 4.5 seconds, if that. And I think, and I've noticed this from my own experience, that the way I engage with media and probably life is a lot more impatient and a lot quicker than it used to be. Like, doom scrolling and just general impatience, and having this thing, my phone I'm holding in my hand, I try not to close to me. So a bit of a tangent about social media, but there's pros and cons to it. And unfortunately, or fortunately, that is my role, is trying to battle with it and engage with it. But it's a weird world.
I mean, it is sometimes. I mean, like I going on Instagram and following, just getting back to the running, is that there is someone who puts up some videos about warming up and that kind of thing. And so it does provide, there are some sort of benefits. It gives you a few ideas. Although there's half the exercises that she's doing, which I could not. I think I'd probably go to hospital after if I did that.
I'm in the same boat.
Yeah. Right. Now, moving on. So you did a film and a TV degree. That was part of your. Was kind of, as the Americans would say, you kind of majored in. Is that right? Was there anything else that you did as part of your degree?
It was predominantly film and television production, which was half theory and half practical, which is what I wanted and I thought was good. I mean, learning about 1920s Russian film wasn't quite on the joint, but I fell in love with 1950s French film, so there's unexpected benefits, and then the practical side, learning how to, whether you want to do cinematography or sound or producing or directing. I went down the cinematography route of how things look and how things are filmed. And a weird element of that was digital production, which is kind of a bit more, if anyone's ever been to Tate Modern and looked around there's a lot of elements of digital art in there, weird and wacky things. I mean, you go in there and you see a toilet in the middle of the room, and that's called art, and it makes you think about it. And that was a little bit of what digital arts was, which was very left field, but makes you think about things in a slightly creative and artistic way.
So then did you start at Outside and Active straight away after university?
Not straight away, actually. Right. So I finished university degree, and then I was opened up to the opportunity of what, if anyone's ever been involved in their students' union at university, it's a sabbatical officer role.
Yes, that's right.
Vice president role or president role. A lot of people hear you say that and go, what? I was the vice president of sport at university, which makes it sound a lot more official than it actually was. They're effectively you're elected by students, or there's a campus-wide campaign. You have to campaign for votes and create a manifesto of how you're going to change your area, whether it's education, sports, societies. You get elected, or you don't get elected. You find out on the night alongside the other people that have run against you. And you find out if you've got a job the next year. So I was very fortunate to do that. I then got re-elected, and you're only legally allowed to do that for 2 years. And that was effectively combined. Well, that really kickstarted my career in health and fitness, because that made me think about how to improve people's life at university in a sporting sense every day. So I had that 2 years, and unfortunately finished that in June of 2020.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. So finding a job in June of 2020 was very, very tough.
Yeah.
Fast forward a few months, and I was very fortunate to then be offered a position at where I am now. Raccoon Media Group is the overall company, doing marketing, basic marketing for B2C health and fitness events. We organise National Running Show, National Outdoor Expo, a number of other shows in different health and fitness markets, cycling, snow sports, equine, and began there and did kind of marketing for 6 months to a year. And then the opportunity came up to kind of take over or be a part of the content for this platform called Outside and Active, which had existed in the company for a little while because it became a digital event when you couldn't run events, obviously in person, for a few years. During lockdown. Events companies had to be imaginative, and we created this digital event, and Outside and Active then was this thing. And the powers that be at Raccoon Media Group said, hey, we kind of want this to be a thing. Can you do something with it effectively? Which I'd never done before. It was quite scary. I'd only kind of run social media accounts at at university and kind of done my own thing. All of a sudden it was part of a job, and I had to create a community and create content and do it in a professional and career sense and take it on and mold it. But almost 2.5 years later, I've been fortunate enough, I think you mentioned in the intro, to be able to speak to unbelievable people. The names that you mentioned, even the names that you haven't mentioned, that I'm sure we'll come on to, have genuinely been life-changing, I would say. I think it sounds a little bit...
I mean, I was going to say, is that, do you get that feeling that I'm in the room with like Sir Chris or whoever, and you have to pinch yourself?
Absolutely. I mean, these are people that not only have achieved unbelievable things at an Olympic Games at the top level, but they're also people that from a podcasting and interviewing point of view have been interviewed on international, national television networks by people that have been interviewing and podcasting or, similar type of thing for years and years. And they've been asked every single question and, what's it like to win a gold medal and all that type of thing. Yeah. So the challenge with those people, I think, is where's the niche? What can you bring out of them that maybe they've not spoken about before? But completely a sense of I'm just me being with the opportunity. I always use that word to speak with these unbelievable people. Yeah, incredible.
But at the same time, I mean, listening to some of them, like I listened to the one Eilish McColgan yesterday because I saw her over Christmas, her documentary about her. And, they're all very, humble, they're just like you and I. Although they are, a completely rare breed, they are an athlete and they are, a different, I always put them in a different category. They're completely different, but at the same time, they're just like, you and I in some ways, I remember when I was a gym instructor in Twickenham, the Harlequins guys used to come in and I used to speak to Jason Leonard, and he was the nicest guy. He was, and he would always have time for you,
I know they're human beings as well. Like they actually want to see you as an equal. And I have been guilty at the beginning of doing this of obviously when you see Sir Chris Hoy or Ray Mears or XYZ person that you kind of chat to, and you build it up and you get nervous. And even I've been fortunate enough to speak with influencers that have been on popular TV shows that you kind of think, you build up an idea of them in your head, where there are sometimes it's in a slightly negative way because you think, oh gosh, I'm just me, I'm just Dom, and why are they going to want to speak to me? Or they're going to be a little bit blasé, or they might be rude. I've not had a single instance in 2 years with anyone. I've been very, touch wood, of anyone being like rude or dismissive or looks like they don't want to be there. Right. Maybe they have, but they don't look like it, and they get great. And I've come out of certain interviews and recordings and chats and I'm firmly going, I feel like a bit of an idiot because I thought that person might have been a certain way, and they absolutely were the loveliest person that I've ever had. Yeah. So I feel like you were just saying, they're just normal people. Like they want to give you time, and I'm very lucky, very lucky.
Yeah. Was it with Raccoon Media? Is it Raccoon Media? That's right. Yeah. Was it their idea to push forward, this platform, to Outside and Active onto the podcast platform. And did they sort of say, Dominic, here you go? So
I would love to say that it was Outside and Active was something I created in my bedroom one day when I was like, I wanted to try something. I would love to give that story. Unfortunately, that's not the case, but it kind of is what you said there. It was handed over to me in a little bit of it had been thrown around, and was it going to be a film production? Was it going to a production house? Was it going to be a digital events with webinars only? Was it going to be just a website? And it kind of got to this point where they said, oh, here's this guy that's been here for half a year or a year who likes being on camera because he does the interviews, not likes being on camera, but can be on camera. He can do the technical stuff behind the scenes, and he has a bit of motivation. What can we do with him to give something to see if it works? And Outside, I think it started with I had about 200 followers when I took it over, a few clients that we'd worked with. The podcast had just kind of got started between me and a colleague that was here at the time. And it was a little bit of an experiment, and it was right, you own this, do with it what you will. And it has very much become part of my life. Like, I'm not just saying this because it was handed to me, or that my bosses might be listening. It is not, I come in and do this from 9 to 5, Outside and Active, or, what I do is very much, I live and breathe that, whether that comes back to the whole health and fitness is my passion. It's not just my career. I have lived and breathed it for the last 2.5 years, and very passionate about building a community, providing high quality content, and also the boring stuff of having to make it commercially viable. It is Outside and Active is very much just me doing the marketing and content for it.
Yeah. So you get because I notice you do get sponsors now and again, don't you?
I have a commercial colleague, Tom, who's fantastic that does that side of things, because effectively, whether it's in a business or whether it's individual, sometimes it has to wash its face and then some. But my core is content. So I often then have the editorial battle of saying, no, we're creating this because it's good content. And that's always my forefront. Obviously, there has to be a commercial element to that as well to keep it going. But no, Outside and Active has just sort of become me, which is weird. I remember 2.5 or 2 years ago, I was kind of like, I don't know if this is something that I'm ready for, or something I'll be able to do. And I've just been able to grow with it. There's still a long way to go, but I've enjoyed it. Part of it.
So in terms of getting guests, is it sort of in conjunction with the exhibitions that you run, or do you kind of reach out? How do you go about reaching out for potential
bit of a
guests?
mixture? There is a bit of a mixture. Obviously, like I mentioned, we're connected to the shows. Very fortunate to have a fantastic content team that work across all of our shows across the US and the UK, where they bring in some of the most amazing speakers. I mean, we've got the National Running Show next week as we're recording this on the 20th of January, and Mo Farah's speaking there. I think he's only there for about 45 minutes. So I think he's doing his talk and leaving. So unfortunately not going to have the opportunity to chat to him. But some speakers that we have that, yes, the headline, quote unquote, headliners that have X amount of Instagram followers and that have won X amount of gold medals are fantastic, but they bring in speakers from all over the running world, whether it's inspirational, educational, or pure fun and entertainment. And a lot of the times I then work with the content team to say, hey, who's got time for an interview or a chat, who wants to do it, who would be good, what gaps have we not spoken to? So there's a lot of that, of working with them and then sitting down with people physically at the show. But there's also a lot of me being able to reach out, and as a podcast grows and as your connections grow with people, you then have access to a few more people who go, hey, they reach out to you reach out to them, and hey, do you want to sit down with me for half an hour and have a chat about the outdoors and make it quite fun and quite relaxing? And obviously there's a little bit of give and take, is that I get some content for it and you're going to get some promotion out of it, or we just want to sit down and have a chat. You mentioned Caitlin at the beginner. She is she's just lives life. For people that know Caitlin's story, if you don't, then absolutely listen to her story. But she is just a lust for life and says yes and grabs every opportunity. I was fortunate to sit down in this room with her and have a one-on-one chat in person. But you just meet people like that, and your connection grows. Like we've been connected now through that conversation, and the connection that we now have.
Yes, exactly.
Will then spread and have access to more, and that's what it's all about. So now I'm trying to get into a position where it's happened a few times where I chat to people and bring people in, and then the show team and the content team go, "Oh, hello, you had a chat with Helen Glover, who's an Olympic rower. We would love to have her at the show. Can you give her a contact detail?" And I'm going, finally, I have a little bit of a balance in the conversation. But no, like I said, the vast array of people that I've been able to speak to from all over the world, from people that I've watched on the Olympics to people that I've never heard of before, and have now forged genuinely great friendships with, has been an unbelievable experience.
That's it for another episode, and looking forward to speaking to you next week with some beginner hints and tips about running. I just want to let you know that you can follow me on X, or what was known as Twitter, at Brian's Run Pod. I have just recently set up a Facebook page which is called Brian's Run Pod, and I am on Instagram at Brian's Run Pod. Also, my website is www.briansrunpod.co.uk, where you can get show notes, or on whatever podcasting app you're listening to the show. Plus, all my episodes have chapter markers if you need to get to different segments of the show. Plus, leave a review, as it will help others find this podcast. Music is Happy Day by Stock Audio, not forgetting artwork by Alice Patterson. Till next week, thanks again for listening.